Welcome back to Worldview. Now, when one of our articles gets huge hits on UK Progressive Magazine, our sister publication, it obviously touches a number of nerves. And yesterday we posted an article entitled End Times, Scripture versus Climate, and the readers responded enthusiastically. Its author is Robert Hunziker, a freelance writer for dozens of progressive publications, including our own UK Progressive, Z Magazine, In These Times, Epocha, the European Project on Ocean Acidification, Occupy Wall Street, Progressive Radio Network, and the Huffington Post. Now, Robert returns to the show for a record fifth time, and he's an activist and a writer whose personal mission is to simplify the problem in essays and articles based upon his research of the science, so he can address the horrors of climate change without the circumspection required of scientists, which inevitably lose the public's attention and understanding of the severity of the problem. Indeed. Robert Hunziker, welcome back to Worldview.
Hi, Dennis. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Great to have you back. Wow. What a piece. And on so many different levels. I mean, you definitely navigated climate change and end times, two issues that tend to bring out, frankly, the most wacko extremes. And on the one hand, you have the GOP ostensibly on the side of Scripture saying only God will end the world, so basically let's party now. And they use it cynically as cover for drill, baby, drill, while the science side is sounding an alarm bell that is very real and goes unheeded. And the media is not helping by giving the 3% wackos, that science that has been proven 3% of the time, equal oxygen to the 97% saying with scientific surety that the sky is falling. What the hell's going on here, Robert?
Well, thank you. That should be the end of the interview. You just covered everything. You covered all the bases. But what's going on is, and what triggered this is I read an article in the Political Science Quarterly by two professors by the name of David Barker and David Bierce. And the title of the article is End Times Theology, the Shadow of the Future and Public Resistance to Addressing Global Climate Change. That's a very catchy title. It catches your attention for certain. And as part of their research, they found that 76% of Republicans believe in the second coming. And ipso facto, if that's the case, you're never going to do anything, even if you have 100% participation by all the Democrats in the country about climate change. And not only did they make that statement and come to that conclusion, but isn't that what's really happened anyway? Isn't it weird that we've got such a small minority? It's not too difficult to figure out. We all see the Republican Party has been captured by the religious right. It really has been. We saw that with the selection of Mitt Romney and the selection of his vice presidential candidate, which was foisted upon him by that group. So we've got a small minority of people who believe in the second coming, who are dictating whether or not this country is going to do anything about climate change in a very serious and meaningful way. Meanwhile, you've also got what I call garden variety journalism that dodges the issue by soft peddling the issue. I mentioned in my article an article that was in Wired magazine by Matt Ridley. Title of the article is Apocalypse Not. Here's why you shouldn't worry about end times. So what he does is he essentially makes an apology for every issue that climate change people who are concerned, advocates have, and he shoots them down one by one in a very soft way. And so what happens is the people who aren't the true believers, if you will, the environmentalists who really study this thing and know the problems are real, and they're very real. Problem is, where they're happening, we don't see it every day. The big problem is, as I know, is in the Arctic. We're losing the Arctic. It's in a meltdown stage. So, we could carry on and rant forever about this, but the forces aligned against doing something are severe.
Well, you raised some important questions in this article. You mean about glaciers melting, parts of Greenland are turning to slush for the first time ever that were permafrost, polar ice cap melts, ocean acidification 10 times normal, methane at 1,874 parts per billion versus a normal 400, and what used to take 10,000 years to change a level of carbon dioxide, we've done in 30. Yikes! What's happening?
You're right. You're right. What's happening is that our climate is coming apart at the seams, and we don't even recognize it and do anything about it. That's what's happening, and it's extraordinarily severe. This thing about the Arctic is extraordinarily severe, huge problem. We may have an ice-free Arctic by as early as 2015. A few years ago, they thought it might be 2035 or 2050. It's happening so fast now. And meanwhile, what that's doing is it's releasing from both the hydrates, which is really ice that is trapped the methane for millennia, and also the permafrost, which has trapped the methane for millennia. It's releasing it in unbelievable plumes that are in some cases a half-mile wide.
People that are watching this, some will have some idea, but most will have no idea why they should worry about the release of methane from the permafrost layer, or they don't even know what it is. Talk about what this actually does to the environment.
Well, what it does is it will hasten and increase the runaway global warming. The way it works, of course, is both with carbon dioxide or CO2 and also with methane, which is CH4. When they are released into the atmosphere, they stay in the atmosphere, in the upper atmosphere, and they essentially block the release of the sun infrared that comes and hits the Earth from going back into outer space. Most of it does that. For example, when you have ice and snow cover, like the North Pole's had forever, there's an albedo effect, which reflects most of that infrared. Now we're absorbing it, and it doesn't reflect, it stays within the atmosphere, so we get warming that builds on itself. And when that happens, we lose our, well, eventually, if you want to go to the final conclusion, the apocalypse would happen, wouldn't it? Because what would happen is we would melt the major ice sheets. The Antarctic, Greenland, Patagonia, if they all go, we're 200 feet underwater. So, I mean, that's the ultimate, if you will.
We're talking with the environmental journalist Robert Hunziker here on Worldview with Dennis Campbell. Robert, you've talked for some time about an extinction event, and quite frankly, watching these floods in Calgary, in India, Delhi being completely underwater, parts of the EU here, they're getting very little media play. How quickly are we headed towards this extinction event?
I don't think anybody knows. And I don't think, in fact, it's even within our lifetimes. But what will happen with our lifetimes is life is going to become very uncomfortable. And that's the issue we've got. We're going to have serious problems with food, for one thing. We're going to have serious problems with fresh water, for another thing. So much of the world depends upon the glaciers for their water source, especially in India and China. 80% of the irrigation of the crops in China comes from the glaciers in the Tibetan Plateau. 60% in India. Well, there's a couple billion people. What are they going to do as those glaciers melt off? We have hard facts from China, from their own scientists, who have told us that 80% of the glaciers, for example, that feed the Lancang River have melted. What happens when the next 20% go? There's one of their major commercial waterways, and also provides irrigation for crops. This is really a serious matter. And but it's scattered all about the world, and none of us really feel the full impact of it in our everyday lives. When I get up every day, I get the same weather forecast in Los Angeles. It's partly cloudy, 70 degrees, clouds will break around noon, you'll have clear blue skies. It's very difficult then to mentally grasp what's really happening with this climate change problem and for everybody else in the world, because you live your own little slot. Now, if you superimpose on that the fact that we've got journalists, this garden variety journalism, where they kind of fluff over the issue, and then you take the control of the politics by a small handful of people, if you will, we've got a real problem. I don't know where you go with this. It's really, it's exasperating.
Well, you know, It is very scary stuff, Robert. Once again, you've managed to scare the living daylights out of me. So thanks again for joining us, and I really do hope we see each other again very soon, because I do worry when I read some of these things.
Well, good, and I hope that's what it prompts, and people should worry, and they should try to do something about it.
We've been speaking with Robert Hunziker. He's an environmental freelance journalist who lives in the state of California. He writes features for our sister outlet here, UK Progressive Magazine. You're watching Worldview with Dennis Campbell. Stay right here.
Thanks, Dennis.